Get ready to throw some hands, because today we're diving into 68 modern beat-em-ups that will punch, kick, and slam their way into your very soul. Each passing year brings more enemies to crush, bigger foes to face, and more combos to master than ever before. From cyberpunk streets to post-apocalyptic wastelands, these 68 games will have you unleashing fury in ways you've never imagined. Before we begin, I'd like to point out that it's difficult to pin a precise year on when the modern renaissance period of beat-em-ups began, and so let's start with the early years, with games you can debate should be included there. Perhaps you could call it the primordial age of modern beat-em-ups. Also know that some games that released in this early period might appear later in the list as they received an update or remastered version, or were technically in early access at this time and officially released later. Now, this is a very sizable list, and I haven't played every single one of these games. Where I haven't, it should be pretty obvious, as I'm using the game's launch and gameplay trailers to showcase the beat-em-up carnage. Don't forget to share this list with other fans of the genre, or those who are simply curious. There's truly something for everyone here. Let's raise our fists in the air and journey through the modern age of beat-em-ups. Double Dragon Neon 2012. While the modern beat-em-up renaissance really began to take off a few years later, WayForward's Double Dragon Neon was arguably the spark that lit the fuse. With its flashy style and self-aware humor, it helped modernize the genre, and for that reason, it earns its place on this list. Billy and Jimmy Lee return in a neon-drenched reboot of the classic beat-em-up series. When Marion is kidnapped by a skeletal warlock named Skullmageddon,
I'm your worst nightmare!
The Lee brothers punch, kick, and elbow drop their way through a dimension-hopping adventure that starts in city streets and escalates into outer space. It's a wild, over-the-top riff on 80s action movies, complete with lasers, hair metal, and ridiculous one-liners.
Time to make a marrow escape!
Double Dragon Neon modernizes the franchise while staying true to its roots. The combat system is tight and punchy, featuring a mix of juggles, throws, and supers. Players can high-five to share health, dash attack, or dodge at just the right moment to activate a double damage gleam mode. Instead of traditional upgrades, players collect mixtapes dropped by enemies. These tapes grant stat buffs, like increased health or strength, and special moves, such as fireballs, spinning kicks, and magical dragons. Tapes can be upgraded at special shops, adding a layer of light RPG customization. Local co-op is where the game shines. Players can revive each other, share power-ups, and perform team maneuvers. The game also adds absurd humor to enemy design, cutscenes,
The vacuum of space. I better hold my breath.
and boss encounters,
Are you ready to rock and roll?
leaning fully into its parody of 80s culture. Praised for its sense of style, tight combat, and loving send-up of retro gaming tropes, Double Dragon Neon earned a cult following. While some critics found it a bit too self-aware,
They've already gotten this far! You've got to be quick! Deploy the mandroid!
and others took umbrage with the difficulty level, many agreed it was a fun, polished, and respectful reboot of the franchise. Streets of Fury EX 2015. An offbeat love letter to 90s beat-em-ups, Streets of Fury EX presents an alternate Paris overrun by violent gangs, where a roster of colourful, eccentric fighters, including breakdancers, martial artists, and the like, rise to take the streets back. Built using digitized sprites for maximum retro flair, combat is fast, combo-driven, and absurdly over-the-top. Every fighter has multiple juggle options, air recoveries, and super moves, and there's a unique Fury gauge mechanic building towards devastating finishers. The game features single-player, co-op, and a versus mode, alongside the loads of unlockable characters, including a few tongue-in-cheek secret fighters. A cult classic among beat-em-up fans, Streets of Fury EX was praised for its deep combat system and sheer personality. Some found the visuals jarring, but many players fell in love with its weird charm, calling it one of the hidden gems of modern beat-em-ups. Castle Crashers Remastered 2015. Engage with the locals. Admire the majestic fauna. There's even a wedding you can attend. When a dark wizard steals a powerful crystal and kidnaps 4 princesses, it's up to a band of colourful knights to fight their way through the kingdom, rescue the princesses, and defeat a host of bizarre enemies. A side-scrolling beat-em-up with RPG elements. Castle Crashers Remastered builds upon classic arcade action with modern polish. Level up your characters, assign points to strength, magic, defense, and agility, unlock 25 playable characters and 40 plus weapons, use magic abilities unique to each character, and ride animals while collecting animal orbs that offer passive bonuses. The game features both local and online co-op for up to 4 players, and the remastered version runs at 60 frames per second, with improved textures and visual fidelity compared to the original, which was released back in 2008 on Xbox Live. The remastered edition was well received for its smoother performance, vibrant art style, and addictive gameplay loop. Players praised its humor, charm, and replayability, especially in co-op. Mother Russia Bleeds 2016. Welcome to an alternate USSR, drenched in filth, blood, and chaos. In Mother Russia Bleeds, you play as one of 4 Street Fighters from the underground bare knuckle circuit, living life day to day until you're kidnapped by a mysterious government-backed syndicate. They inject you with Necro, a grotesque experimental drug that makes you stronger and maybe not quite human anymore. You wake up in a cell, and it's all downhill, or uphill if your favourite hill is made of corpses. From abandoned labs to riot-torn cities, you battle through waves of monstrous junkies, corrupt officers, and unholy science projects. The world is bleak, oppressive, and soaked in paranoia, like Streets of Rage if it were co-directed by David Cronenberg and Gaspar Noé. This is a brutal, side-scrolling beat-em-up. The combat is heavy, meaty, and savagely satisfying. You punch, kick, stomp, and smash your way through grotesque foes, with a focus on grappling, juggling, and environment-based carnage. The violence is intense, limbs fly, heads explode, and the pavement gets slippery with pixelated gore. But here's the twist. The Necro drug isn't just a plot device, it's a core mechanic. You can inject it mid-fight to restore health, or activate Berserk mode, turning yourself into a frenzied tank. The catch? You can only extract it from twitching corpses. Local co-op for up to 4 players keeps the chaos flying, and the campaign can branch depending on your choices. There's also an arena mode for those who just want a hit of raw ultra-violence without the story. Mother Russia Bleeds dropped in 2016 and immediately turned heads, some in admiration, others in queasy horror. Critics praised its visceral combat, thumping electro-industrial soundtrack, and bold art style, though some balked at the extreme violence and thin narrative. It's not for the faint of heart, but if you like your beat-em-ups gritty and unfiltered, this one delivers in spades, and probably with spades. Cartoon Network Battle Crashers, released in 2016. After Uncle Grandpa accidentally tears a rift between dimensions with his RV, heroes from various Cartoon Network universes are pulled together. The result is a multiverse mashup where Gumball, Clarence, Finn and Jake, Mordecai and Rigby, Steven Universe, and Uncle Grandpa must team up to restore balance and take down corrupted versions of their enemies. This side-scrolling beat-em-up features 1 to 4 player local co-op. Each character has unique abilities and players can swap between them on the fly. Combat involves basic melee, ranged attacks, and special moves tailored to each character's cartoon world. The game has a strong emphasis on environmental hazards and light puzzle elements, with repeatable levels designed for grinding collectibles and upgrades. The game was panned by critics and fans alike for its repetitive gameplay, shallow mechanics, and lack of voice acting. It was seen as a missed opportunity to celebrate Cartoon Network's iconic characters in a more engaging way. Perhaps one for only die-hard fans. Mr. Shifty, 2017. You play as Mr. Shifty, a teleporting thief on a mission to infiltrate the world's most secure facility and steal a powerful, dangerous artifact. The narrative plays out through light dialogue and escalating threats as Shifty battles his way up the building to confront the megalomaniacal villain, Chairman Stone. Mr. Shifty blends beat-em-up combat with fast-paced teleportation mechanics. Players can shift through walls and bullets, dodge enemy attacks, and deliver satisfying punches and environmental kills. The game emphasizes momentum and speed over tanky brawler tactics, turning each level into a blend of a puzzle and an action gauntlet. There are no guns for the player, just fists and whatever objects can be thrown. It received generally favourable reviews for its slick gameplay and unique teleportation gimmick, drawing comparisons to Hotline Miami. Criticism was aimed at its repetitiveness and at launch performance issues on the Switch version. Fight and Rage 2017. In a grim future ruled by mutant animals, humanity is on the ropes. After the Big Pulse, a mysterious event that knocked out tech across the globe, beasts rose up and overthrew their creators. Now humans are either enslaved, hunted, or hiding. A trio of unlikely heroes rises from the ashes to punch fate in the throat. Gal, a lightning-fast martial artist. Ricardo, a minotaur wrestler with fists like wrecking balls. And F. Norris, a mysterious ninja who might just be a love letter to Carlos from Final Fight, or maybe good old Chuck. Together they fight back against the mutant regime, travelling from shadowy ruins to grotesque labs and beyond. The game's narrative branches depending on your choices and performance, with multiple endings, hidden paths, and a world soaked in early 90s arcade grime. This one's a combo freak's paradise. Fight and Rage is fast, frenetic, and full of freedom. You can juggle enemies into the stratosphere, chain massive combos. 200 plus hits aren't uncommon, and cancel into specials and grabs with buttery precision. Every punch feels like it matters, fluid, tight, and full of impact. There are parries, super moves, team combos, and air juggles that would make a Marvel vs. Capcom player blush. Local co-op supports up to 3 players, and the enemy variety, speed, and sheer intensity scale to match. And the game has a mountain of unlockables. New characters, costumes, game modes, and more. The visuals are pixel art perfection, chunky, saturated, and animated with mad energy. The soundtrack is a synth metal assault composed by Gonzalo Varela, and it absolutely slaps. Released in 2017 and later ported to every major console, Fight and Rage was an instant indie darling. Critics and players alike raved about its combat depth, retro aesthetic, and massive replay value. It currently holds overwhelmingly positive on Steam, and is widely considered one of the best modern beat-em-ups, period. It's not just a throwback, it's a blueprint for how the genre can evolve without losing its soul. Double Dragon 4 2017. After years of silence, the iconic Double Dragon series made its triumphant return with Double Dragon 4. Picking up where the story left off, Billy Lee and his brother Jimmy are back in action, this time facing a new threat that lurks in the shadowy corners of the city. The villainous organization known as the Black Warriors has resurfaced, causing chaos in the streets, and only the Lee brothers can stop them. Set in the mid-90s, Double Dragon 4 channels the retro vibes of its predecessors while delivering a modernized beat-em-up experience. As you fight through waves of enemies, the brothers are confronted by a new nemesis, a mysterious cyber-enhanced fighter who threatens to bring the streets to ruin. Old foes like Abobo make their return, but now new twists and turns await. What makes this game stand out, however, is its unexpected spiritual sequel nature. The gameplay and story keep the traditional charm of the series alive, but there's a new dark force at play. Double Dragon 4 brings back the classic side-scrolling beat-em-up action that fans have adored for decades. The gameplay keeps the core mechanics that made the franchise famous, punching, kicking, and using weapons you find along the way, but the new control system offers greater fluidity, allowing for quick combos, special moves, and a mix of offensive and defensive maneuvers that feel satisfying to master. Like the best of beat-em-ups, Double Dragon 4 supports local co-op multiplayer, so you can team up with a friend for some double the trouble action. Released in January of 2017, Double Dragon 4 was met with a mix of excitement and skepticism. Fans of the classic franchise were thrilled to see the return of the brothers and the nostalgic pixelated graphics. However, some players found the difficulty to be more punishing than expected, especially in later levels. While the game wasn't revolutionary, it was a solid throwback to the arcade and NES roots. Critics generally praised the game for capturing the spirit of the originals, but some felt it didn't introduce enough new ideas to make it feel fresh in a landscape full of beat-em-ups. Coffee Crisis 2017. Aliens have come to Earth, but not to conquer. No, the Smurglian race has far more sinister motives. They want to steal our coffee, our metal music, and our Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's the whole plot. And it rules. Only 2 baristas from Black Forge Coffee House in Pittsburgh, Nick and Ashley, stand in their way. With fists fueled by caffeine and hearts powered by metal, they step into the streets to battle mind-controlled grannies, possessed cowboys, mutant teens, and other weirdos the aliens have corrupted. It's part alien invasion, part brew-fueled fever dream, and 100% tongue-in-cheek madness. The tone is campy, self-aware, and totally metal, from the pixel art to the guitar-shredding soundtrack. At its core, Coffee Crisis is a good old-fashioned side-scrolling beat-em-up. Walk right, punch faces, drink coffee. It supports local co-op, and it's best played with a buddy and a thermos full of danger. Originally developed for the Sega Genesis, yep, you read that right, Coffee Crisis released physically in 2017 as a legit cartridge. It was later ported to modern platforms in 2018, with updated visuals, effects, and more content. Reception was mixed to positive, praised for its retro authenticity, quirky humor, and high-energy soundtrack. Some critics noted the gameplay could get repetitive, but fans of throwback brawlers and pixel art metalheads ate it up. Bud Spencer and Terence Hill, Slaps and Beans, 2017. A loving homage to Italy's most iconic action comedy duo, Slaps and Beans drops Bud Spencer and Terence Hill into an original adventure that plays like a lost 1970s movie. You'll travel from saloons to movie sets to beachside resorts, brawling thugs and trading banter in a story full of slapstick, satire, and spaghetti western charm. Whether chasing villains or smashing furniture, every scene feels like it was ripped straight from their cult film catalogue. The game's side-scrolling brawler formula leans into comedy and simplicity, with accessible controls and a laid-back co-op experience. Bud is the heavyweight bruiser, landing big slaps and body checks, while Terence is nimble and flashy, using flying kicks and tricky moves. The levels feature light puzzles, platforming segments, and mini-games, like bar fights and obstacle courses, that break up the action. You can play solo or team up in local 2-player co-op, with the humour and character banter bringing extra charm to the chaos. Slaps and Beans was embraced by fans of Bud Spencer and Terence Hill, with critics praising its faithful recreation of the duo's tone and chemistry. The pixel art, soundtrack, which features music from their original films, and humour all hit the mark, though some noted the combat could feel a bit repetitive over time. I Am the Hero, 2017. In the mists of a war-torn world where chaos reigns, I Am the Hero invites you to take control of a mysterious masked fighter, whose past is as shrouded in mystery as the bitter streets he's walking. The story unfolds through intense, fast-paced, side-scrolling beat-em-up action, blending old-school arcade gameplay with a neo-noir vibe. As the game progresses, you gradually uncover the tragic backstory of the hero, a once legendary fighter who now seeks revenge against the forces that turned his life upside down. The narrative takes place in an urban dystopia where powerful gangs and corrupt corporations reign over every corner of the city, much like modern-day 2025. I Am the Hero offers a visceral combat experience, fast, fluid, and unforgiving. Fans of the beat-em-up genre will find the game's mechanics a satisfying blend of classic and modern elements. The core of the game is fluid hand-to-hand combat with the ability to chain punches, kicks, and special moves into massive combos. As you progress, you unlock new moves and special attacks. You can also unlock enemies and use them in battle, switching out your character on the fly. They also kind of act like a second life, giving you another chance, should the hero be defeated in battle. There are no slow moments here, each fight is fast and furious. You'll have to master the art of dodging, countering, and executing combo chains to survive against increasingly dangerous foes. The game encourages a sense of growth and evolution, rewarding players for their combat proficiency with even greater power. With each level, the hero becomes a bit more unstoppable, but the enemies also grow in strength and sophistication. Released in 2017, I Am the Hero garnered attention for its distinctive art style and its fluid combat mechanics. While not a mainstream hit, the game developed a cult following among beat-em-up enthusiasts who were looking for something fresh in the genre. The fluid combat mechanics received a lot of positive feedback, with players noting how satisfying it was to pull off high-speed combos and special attacks. However, some criticised the story's pacing, which is occasionally sluggish between the action-packed sequences. 99 Vidas, 2017. A loving throwback to the golden age of side-scrolling beat-em-ups, 99 Vidas, Portuguese for 99 Lives, was developed by Brazilian indie studio Qbyte Interactive. The game blends 16-bit aesthetics with sharp modern polish, drawing clear inspiration from genre greats like Streets of Rage, Final Fight, and Double Dragon. The story follows a group of guardians tasked with protecting an artifact known as the 99 Vidas, a mystical object tied to the balance of the universe. When it falls into the wrong hands, chaos begins to spread, and players must brawl their way through urban streets, ancient ruins, neon-lit alleys, and more to reclaim it. Each of the playable characters has distinct elemental powers, fire, water, lightning, etc., and upgradable combos, super attacks, and stats. The game also supports up to 4 players in co-op, both locally and online, with a versus mode for head-to-head brawling. While 99 Vidas doesn't reinvent the genre, its dedication to retro authenticity and regional flair helped it stand out. From the playful banter between characters to the stylized enemy designs, it delivers a lovingly crafted homage that celebrates and expands upon beat-em-up traditions. Dragon's Crown Pro 2018. Welcome to the Kingdom of Hydeland, where brave adventurers dive into deep labyrinths, haunted ruins, and dragon-infested caverns in search of ancient treasure and mystical relics. Dragon's Crown is set in a gorgeously drawn high fantasy world that feels like a classic Dungeons & Dragons campaign filtered through a painter's fever dream. You choose from one of 6 distinct classes: Amazon, Fighter, Elf, Dwarf, Sorceress, or Wizard, and set off on a perilous journey across story-driven quests, procedurally generated dungeons, and high-stakes boss battles. The deeper you go, the weirder and darker it gets. There's political intrigue, necromantic cults, sentient demons, and of course, the legendary Dragon's Crown, a relic of terrifying power that everyone wants to control. Dragon's Crown is a hybrid beat-em-up and RPG, drawing just as much from Golden Axe and Dungeons & Dragons Shadow over Mystara as it does from modern loot-driven dungeon crawlers. Combat is side-scrolling brawling goodness, but layered with spells, weapons, skill trees, and a party-based structure. Dungeon runs can be tackled solo, or with up to 4-player co-op, and as the difficulty rises, so do the stakes. The original Dragon's Crown launched in 2013 to critical acclaim, praised for its jaw-dropping art, fluid combat, and rich RPG systems. The Pro version, released in 2018 for PS4, brought 4K visuals, updated UI, and a re-recorded orchestral soundtrack. Some controversy surrounded the game's exaggerated character designs, especially the Sorceress and Amazon, but Vanillaware's unmistakable art direction earned both respect and fascination. The game is now considered a cult classic and a shining gem of the genre.
Lead the wandering soul back, reverse death, and awaken them.
Streets of Red, Devil's Dare Deluxe, 2018. What starts as a video game convention in Singapore quickly turns into an apocalyptic blood-soaked hellscape. A mysterious power merges the real world with the horrors of 8-bit nightmares, unleashing twisted versions of famous pop culture icons. Think Jason, Freddy, Alien, and more. Legally distinct, of course. Now it's up to a ragtag group of gamers to smash, slash, and scream their way through the undead hordes. You play as parodied versions of classic gaming archetypes, each one wielding weapons and specials inspired by their genre. We're talking RPG warriors, survival horror heroines, and mighty child ninjas. There's a fourth wall-breaking energy here that's equal parts nostalgia and brutal satire. At its core, Streets of Red is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that feels like Final Fight was thrown into a blender with Splatterhouse, Super Smash Bros., and a heavy pinch of permadeath anxiety. Combat is fast, chunky, and unapologetically gory. The real kicker? If you die, you're not just booted from the stage, you're game over. For good. Unless... Here's where it gets spicy. Instead of lives, you earn money, which doubles as both your score and your currency to resurrect. So if you're careless and broke, too bad. The game expects you to get good or die screaming. There's also a built-in risk-reward system. Killing enemies quickly and stylishly increases their chance to drop more cash. You're encouraged to play aggressively, not cautiously, to stay alive. The Deluxe Edition added 4-player couch co-op, more characters, a remix soundtrack, and tighter balance, perfecting the blend of chaos and challenge. Originally released on PC in 2014, Streets of Red got its deluxe makeover in 2018, sharpening its combat and layering in a roguelike edge. Critics praise the clever horror parodies, tight mechanics, and brutal permadeath system. Some players bounced off from the punishing difficulty, but others embraced it like a blood-soaked badge of honor. Fans of the genre call it a hidden gem, a dark, hilarious, and skill-based brawler that doesn't hold your hand. Or your guts. The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa, 2018. You are Ringo Ishikawa, a high school delinquent with fists like iron and a heart full of contradictions. He's the leader of a gang of bancho-style punks, but he's also drifting, thinking, feeling. Graduation looms, life is changing. The punches come easy, but the meaning of it all? That's the real fight. Set in a fictional Japanese town that feels like a slice out of late 80s manga, The story isn't just about saving the world or stopping a demon king. It's about Ringo, his friends, and the slow, inevitable slide into adulthood. You attend school, read books, smoke cigarettes on rooftops, get into brawls, or hang out at the bar, all while time quietly ticks away. There are no quest markers, no tutorial, no win condition. Just you, the streets, and your crew. Mechanically, Ringo Ishikawa is a side-scrolling beat-em-up blended with a life sim and heavy RPG elements. Think River City Ransom meets Shenmue, with a splash of Persona's melancholic pacing. Time management is crucial. You have a few weeks left before graduation, and how you spend each day affects Ringo's growth. Will you study, train, work part-time, or just skip it all and spend time with your crew? Exploration also matters. The town is open from the start. Shops, gyms, alleys, your school. You'll meet rivals, friends, even a few strangers with cryptic lines and sad stories. There's no hand-holding. You're meant to live in this world, not conquer it. Released in 2018, The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa became an unexpected indie darling. Critics praised its raw honesty, minimalistic but expressive pixel art, and moody soundtrack. Some players found it aimless or too slow, but fans of atmospheric storytelling fell hard for it. It's not a power fantasy, it's a coming-of-age bruiser. More about loss and transition than victory. A love letter to youth and all the ways it slips through your fingers. Raging Justice, 2018. The once peaceful city has been overrun by criminals, and it's up to a rogue trio of vigilantes, Rick Justice, Nicky Rage, and the hulking Ashley King, to bring law and order back to the streets, armed with fists, feet, and anything they can grab. They set out to clean up the city the old-fashioned way. Whether you serve justice by the book or deliver it with a steel pipe is entirely up to you. Raging Justice is a throwback to brawlers like Final Fight and Streets of Rage, with a unique pre-rendered 3D art style reminiscent of classic FMV games. It features solo and local co-op play, where players punch, kick, grab weapons, and throw down indestructible environments. You can also use vehicles in certain levels, like mowing down enemies with a ride-on lawnmower. Raging Justice received mixed to positive reviews. Critics praised its throwback tone, humour, and unique visual style, though some found its controls a bit clunky and the art divisive. Speed Brawl 2018. Enter a world that's a twisted mashup of 19th century industrialism and futuristic combat. Speed Brawl takes place in an alternate Earth, where the art of brawling is as important as science and industry. The top brawlers are the ultimate entertainers, combining athleticism, violence, and spectacle. The story kicks off when a mysterious organization known as the Great Brawl Tournament begins to offer outrageous prizes to those who can survive their gauntlet of challenges. You play as one of several quirky brawler characters, each with a unique fighting style and motives. It's a team effort, as you'll need to tag in and out of combat, handling different tasks, enemies, and brawling combos with your partners. The world is divided into different districts, each with a sinister edge, as competitors face increasingly dangerous opponents. Is it just for fame and fortune, or is there something darker at play? Here's the kicker. In Speed Brawl, speed is life. The gameplay is like an arena-based side-scrolling beat-em-up on turbo mode, where the emphasis is on chaining together brutal combos and keeping the pace fast. You're not just throwing fists, you're moving at lightning speed, never letting the action slow down. Environmental hazards in each stage add an extra layer of challenge. Multiplayer support allows for some explosive co-op battles, so you can team up with friends to double down on the action. Speed Brawl debuted in 2018 to solid reviews for its unique blend of quick combat and team mechanics. Critics appreciated the game's high energy feel and its fast-paced action. Some mentioned that the lack of variety in environments could feel a bit repetitive, but for fans of tight, combo-centric brawlers, the energy and flow kept things exciting. Claws of Furry 2018. Claws of Furry plays like a fast-paced 2D beat-em-up with roguelike structure in its main rogue mode, tasking players with surviving wave after wave of enemies without dying. It also includes arena mode for solo or co-op wave survival, and cat mode, a more traditional level-based campaign with checkpoints. Each mode supports up to 4-player local co-op, with friendly fire always enabled, encouraging both teamwork and chaos. Combat revolves around light and heavy attacks, dodges and aerial maneuvers, and the game features unlockable ninja outfits that change your abilities. This feline warrior must slash and sneak through a gauntlet of criminal dens, sewer lairs, and high-tech compounds, all guarded by bizarre goons, mutant creatures, and mechanical nightmares. The plot is lighthearted and stylized, leaning into comic book flair with bold art and a pulpy tone. The game received a mixed to positive reception, praised for its unique art style, character designs, and chaotic co-op energy. Some players appreciated its blend of roguelike challenge and beat-em-up action, though others felt the difficulty spikes and repetition could be frustrating without upgrades or additional polish. Still, as a quirky and bold indie title, Claws of Furry found an audience among genre fans who appreciated its fast gameplay and feline flavor. Urban Lockdown 2018. Based upon the 2015 movie of the same name, and brought to you by Thatcher Productions, the game is set against the backdrop of a city in full riot mode. Urban Lockdown follows a crew of 3 fighters, ex-soldier Rick, the town sheriff, and Shane, all out to take down the crime lord Sanchez for their own reasons. The narrative explores themes of betrayal, loyalty, and revolution. The game offers gritty, side-scrolling combat with digitized sprites, built on the beats of Rage engine. Players punch, kick, and unleash devastating special attacks, as well as utilize their surrounding environment and weapons. The co-op mode supports up to 3 players, and the game even contains first-person on-rail shooting levels. While it flew under the radar for many, Urban Lockdown earned respect among genre enthusiasts for its tough combat and atmospheric presentation. Its sometimes harsh difficulty was a sticking point for many, but those who pushed through found a layered, surprisingly polished take on the genre. Redeemer Enhanced Edition 2019. You are Vasily, a former elite operative turned monk, whose violent past catches up with him when a corrupt weapons corporation invades his sanctuary. Fueled by rage and a desire for redemption, Vasily takes up arms and fists once more to destroy the organization he once worked for. Redeemer is a brutal top-down beat-em-up with heavy melee combat, environmental kills, and a mix of stealth and gunplay. The Enhanced Edition added local co-op, new character classes, and overall performance tweaks. The Enhanced Edition helped the game find a larger audience after the original's mixed reception. It was praised for its over-the-top violence, improved mechanics, and co-op mode, though some critics still pointed out the lack of polish and repetitive elements. The Takeover 2019. The Takeover wastes no time getting to the point. Your loved one has been kidnapped, the city's gone to hell, and it's time to punch everyone in the face until things get sorted. The plot follows 3 playable heroes, Ethan, Megan, and Connor, as they fight their way through the criminal underworld of Steelhaven to rescue Ethan's kidnapped daughter. It's a familiar setup, and that's the point. The Takeover is an unapologetic love letter to Streets of Rage, Final Fight, and every side-scrolling brawler where fists do the talking. The story is delivered in comic book-style panels, complete with melodramatic narration and the kind of vengeance-fueled grit that smells like motor oil and sweat. The combat is fluid, punchy, and versatile, with combos, juggles, air attacks, special moves, and even guns, because sometimes your fists need a backup plan. Each character plays differently. Ethan is your balanced brawler, Megan is fast and flashy, and Connor is the tank. You can also unleash a rage mode to temporarily turn into an unstoppable fury machine, and a special meter lets you call in a screen-clearing explosion when things get hairy. One of the standout features? The ability to pull out a sidearm. Ammo is limited, but it adds a fresh layer of strategy and carnage. After several years in early access, the Takeover fully released in 2019. While it didn't make massive waves, it earned solid praise from beat-em-up fans and retro lovers alike. Critics highlighted its buttery smooth gameplay, tight controls, and throwback feel, though some felt the pacing dragged towards the end, and that it wore its influences a little too proudly. Still, for those who live and breathe brawlers, the Takeover was a polished, nostalgic ride, and a great companion piece to Streets of Rage 4. Stay cool, Kobayashi-san 2019. A spin-off of the Kunio-kun universe. This quirky time-traveling side story stars Masao Kobayashi. When a friend is kidnapped, Kobayashi teams up with a mysterious boy from the future to unravel a strange temporal conspiracy. The game blends 2D beat-em-up action with a surreal tone and branching timelines. Players can unlock different endings based on their choices, and each run can feature different ally characters who change how battles play out. Stat boosts and progression systems are tied to mission paths, giving the game a layered structure despite its compact size. Reviews were mixed. While fans of the Kunio-kun series appreciated its weird charm and stylized combat, others felt it was too short and repetitive for its price. The Ninja Saviours, Return of the Warriors, 2019. Ah, the Ninja Warriors. If you remember the old school arcade beat-em-up from 1987, you know the deal. Giant robots, ninja assassins, evil corporations. You know, the usual. The Ninja Saviours, Return of the Warriors isn't just a nostalgia trip, it's a full-blown reboot and remake that brings the classic to a new generation of players. With extra smooth combat, modern visuals, and of course, more robots to slice in half. Set in a dystopian future, the game pits you against the evil Namco Corporation, which has taken control of the world, pushing humanity to the brink. The only hope lies in the free ninja robots, designed to battle the forces of oppression. But wait, these aren't your standard emotionless robots, oh no, they've got souls, and their mission, take down Namco and save humanity. It's robot versus robot, human versus machines, and chaos versus order. While it retains the classic beat-em-up formula, it's supercharged with a modern understanding of flow and polish. The game features 2-player co-op, so grab a friend and tear through enemies together. If you've ever dreamed of doing a ninja robot combo with a buddy, this is your chance. Released in 2019, The Ninja Saviours, Return of the Warriors received praise for successfully updating a retro classic, while still keeping its arcade heart. Critics loved the tight, responsive combat and the beautiful hand-drawn character art that made the ninjas come to life. Fans of the original found plenty to love here, but newcomers also praised the game's accessibility and brutal challenge. However, some critics pointed out the shortness of the experience. Players were able to breeze through the levels quickly and the difficulty didn't ramp up as much as they'd hoped. Still, for beat-em-up fans, it was a love letter to the classics, and the reworked visuals and gameplay improvements were enough to keep players hooked for hours. Chipmonk, 2019. The gluttonous grey squirrel has stolen all the land's food stores, threatening the forest's inhabitants with starvation. Embark on a perilous journey as a chipmunk martial arts master. Grey, cheeks, or red, as you battle a multitude of foes in a heroic attempt to recover the stolen food. Chipmonk is a retro-inspired 2D beat-em-up that pays homage to classics like Golden Axe. Players can choose from 3 chipmunk warriors, each with unique abilities, and engage in side-scrolling combat against various enemies. Game supports 1 to 2 player local co-op and features multiple modes, including a campaign duel mode and an endless onslaught mode. The game received mixed reviews, however. Some praised its nostalgic charm and faithful recreation of classic beat-em-up mechanics, while others criticized its repetitive gameplay and lack of innovation. River City Girls, 2019. When their boyfriends Kunio and Ricky suddenly go missing, high school delinquents Misako and Kyoko take to the streets of River City to crack skulls and get some answers. Their journey leads them through gangs, rivals, and surprise betrayals as they brawl their way across schools, malls, back alleys, and even rooftops. It's a wild, neon-colored fight for love, with fists flying and sass levels off the charts. River City Girls reimagines the long-running Kunio-kun series through a fresh perspective and bold new art style. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up at its core, but layered with RPG mechanics. Characters level up, learn new moves, equip gear, and shop for food that grants stat boosts. Misako and Kyoko each have unique animations, personalities, and fighting styles. Misako is scrappy and aggressive, while Kyoko is more playful and athletic. The game supports 2-player local co-op, and players can also recruit defeated enemies to briefly assist in fights, adding variety and humour to the brawls. The game was praised for its vibrant hand-drawn visuals, witty dialogue, expressive characters, and energetic soundtrack. Its light-hearted tone, diverse cast, and modern twist on a classic formula earned it a loyal fanbase. Some critics mention minor difficulty spikes and repetitive enemy waves, but overall, River City Girls was seen as a stylish, highly playable entry point for new fans, and a bold reinvention for the series. Nine Monkeys of Shaolin, 2020. Nine Monkeys of Shaolin follows Wei Cheng, a humble Chinese fisherman whose peaceful life is shattered when pirates and marauders slaughter his village. Swearing vengeance, Wei trains under legendary Shaolin monks, mastering the art of combat to exact justice on those responsible. The story pays homage to classic kung fu cinema, mixing a straightforward revenge tale with spiritual growth, ancient prophecies, and a mystical edge. The gameplay is a modern reimagining of classic beat-em-ups with a heavy martial arts flair. Stances and weapon upgrades offer meaningful customization, with skill trees that let players evolve ways, techniques based on their preferred playstyle. Local and online 2-player co-op enhances the experience, with scaling difficulty and synchronized combo moves. Tight controls, a rhythmic flow to combat, and beautifully rendered levels, inspired by ancient China, help set it apart. Upon release, Monkeys of Shaolin was praised for its stylish presentation, deep yet accessible combat system, and authentic kung fu atmosphere. Critics highlighted its dedication to old-school beat-em-ups while adding modern RPG progression. Some noted its relatively short campaign and limited enemy variety, but overall it was embraced as a satisfying, heartfelt entry in the genre. Super Punch Patrol 2020. The setting? Think gritty, think dirty streets, filled with thugs, crooks, and a whole lot of chaos. The vibe is straight up crime noir, where the good guys aren't always squeaky clean. Super Punch Patrol places you in the role of cops, whose job it is to clean up the streets and take down the criminal underworld one punch at a time. The story kicks off as the underdogs of law enforcement are faced with a rise in crime and a dangerous gang pushing into their city. What do? What else? Beat down the bad guys. It's a fast-paced, retro-inspired beat-em-up with a lot of swag. Super Punch Patrol channels the style of old-school brawlers, but throws in some new elements to keep you on your toes. You play as one of 3 unique characters, each with their own fighting style. Whether you like to play it rough or you prefer a more methodical approach, there's a character for every kind of cop. Much like classic beat-em-ups, you can tag team with a buddy in the 2-player co-op mode. It's pure retro fun, especially when you can gang up on the enemies and pull off team-based combos. Everything about the game oozes retro flair. The side-scrolling, linear progression feels like a blast from the past, but the level of polish and attention to detail makes the experience feel fresh. Released in 2020, Super Punch Patrol was an instant hit with fans of the beat-em-up genre, looking for something that combines nostalgia with modern features. Jay and Silent Bob Mall Brawl 2020. Jay and Silent Bob Mall Brawl is a side-scrolling beat-em-up developed by Intrabang Entertainment and published by Limited Run Games. A loving throwback to the NES era, the game serves as a prequel to the long-in-development Chronic Blunt Punch, placing Kevin Smith's cult characters in a pixelated brawl fest through mall corridors, hallways, and arcade arenas. The story is classic stoner hijinks. After causing chaos at the Eden Mall, Jay and Silent Bob must fight their way out, taking on waves of rent-a-cops, disgruntled shoppers, and other bizarre enemies. It's an over-the-top homage to both 90s mall culture and Smith's View Askewniverse. Gameplay follows a tag team formula, letting you swap between Jay and Silent Bob on the fly. Each has their own movesets and stats, and the mechanics lean into retro sensibilities. Stiff jump arcs, tight hitboxes, and classic chiptune score. The game doesn't shy away from its NES inspirations, with deliberate nods to River City Ransom, Double Dragon, and TMNT 2, the arcade game. Reception was mixed but affectionate. While some criticized its rigid old-school difficulty and dated design, fans of Kevin Smith's universe found it to be a charming, nostalgic ride packed with in-jokes, quirky enemies, and period-authentic music and graphics. It was later re-released in a physical edition via limited run, further leaning into its retro aesthetic. Paw 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 2020. In a world where animals once lived free, the mighty king of the land suddenly declares all must wear pants. Not everyone agrees. You play as a member of the rebellious Paw 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 resistance, fighting back against the kingdom's bizarre tyranny in a side-scrolling hack-and-slash crusade to reclaim your dignity and your wardrobe choices. Gameplay blends classic beat-em-up action with light RPG progression. Players can choose from multiple anthropomorphic warriors, each with their own weapons, stats, and skill trees. Combat is fast-paced and chaotic, with a mix of melee combos, ranged attacks, and unlockable abilities that let you tailor your fighter to your style. As you battle through increasingly absurd stages, you'll earn loot, level up, and even ride into combat on mounts. The game supports solo or up to 4-player local co-op, making it a great pick for couch multiplayer sessions. Reception to Paw 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 was generally positive among fans of quirky indie beat-em-ups. Its tongue-in-cheek humor, expressive art style, and simple yet fun combat loop helped it carve out a niche among co-op brawler fans, even if it didn't reinvent the genre. It's a scrappy, silly romp with just enough bite to stand out in a crowded field. Cobra Kai, the Karate Kid saga continues, 2020. Set within the Cobra Kai TV universe, the game features an original storyline told from two perspectives, Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. Players switch between Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso's students, as rival dojos clash over a mysterious new villain causing chaos in the valley. A side-scrolling 3D beat-em-up that mixes old-school brawling with modern flair and character variety. You can choose between the Cobra Kai or Miyagi-Do storylines, each with 4 playable characters, and switch between fighters in real time. Unique skills and elemental attacks are based upon the dojo's philosophies: fire for Cobra Kai, ice for Miyagi-Do. There are skill trees, combo upgrades, and dojo progression. Boss fights include TV show characters and new antagonists. And there's local co-op for 2 players. While not a huge critical hit, the game was appreciated by fans for its faithfulness to the show. There's some fun combat and nostalgic vibes. Battletoads 2020. The iconic Battletoads are back, and they're as outrageous as ever. Battletoads 2020 takes the free anthropomorphic toads, Zitz, Rash, and Pimple, on an entirely new adventure. This isn't just a straight-up reboot of the series, it's more of a self-aware, fourth-wall-breaking reimagining that gives players the same zany antics they expect while poking fun at the absurdity of their past. The story? Well, the Battletoads find themselves dealing with the after-effects of lost fame and forgotten glory. The battle for their legacy begins as they try to prove they've still got it. Along the way, they face an assortment of over-the-top villains, go through some unexpected twists, and do everything with that same irreverent humour that made them famous. The gameplay is fast-paced, wild and bombastic, packed with the kind of crazy action you would expect from the Toads. There's combo-heavy combat where you'll be punching, kicking and transforming into all kinds of shapes and sizes in a series of brutal moves. The fun lies in stringing together these combos with plenty of visual flair to keep the action fresh. No Battletoads game is complete without some kind of insane vehicle sequences. The levels are packed with puzzles, platforming, and some of the most surreal sequences you can imagine. Released in August of 2020, Battletoads had big shoes to fill as the franchise's first game in 26 years. Fans were cautiously optimistic about the comeback, and for the most part, the game delivered. Critics were mostly pleased with the game's humour, combat mechanics, and nostalgic references to the old games. The humour hit the right notes for many long-time fans of the series, and the gameplay was engaging, if a little chaotic. However, some players felt that the game's repetitive gameplay and lack of depth could make it drag after a while. Additionally, the difficulty spikes left many players feeling like the game was a bit unpredictable in its challenge. Overall, Battletoads 2020 was received as a fun, albeit imperfect, return for the legendary Toads. Shing 2020. In a far future world blended with Eastern mythology and high-tech fantasy, 4 warriors known as the Shing Guard are all that stand between peace and a horde of demons known as the Yokai. When a powerful artifact called the Starseed is stolen, it's up to these wise-cracking, sword-swinging heroes to slice through the chaos and reclaim it. Along the way, they'll battle monstrous enemies, bicker with one another, and uncover secrets hidden in the shadows of their world. Shing is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that focuses on stylish combo-heavy combat. What's quite interesting is you have the option to control the game with the right analog stick. This free-form directional combat system lets you slice, juggle and smash enemies with precision, opening up opportunities for creative combos. The game also supports up to 4-player local and online co-op. You can switch between characters mid-fight in solo mode, allowing for strategic tag team attacks and unique abilities depending on the character. Combat is fast, flashy, and filled with enemy types that demand different attacks, while the levels are laced with tongue-in-cheek humor and anime-style banter. Shing received mixed reviews, however. Critics praised its innovative control scheme and stylish visuals, but some felt the stick-based combat took too much time to get used to. Still, its vibrant art direction, tight animations, and light-hearted tone help it stand out in a crowded genre. It found a fanbase among players looking for something both modern and playful. Streets of Rage 4 2020. After a long hiatus, the streets are ready to rage once again. Streets of Rage 4 picks up the action 10 years after the events of Streets of Rage 3, where the infamous Mr. X and his criminal syndicate have been vanquished. But peace does not last long in Wood Oak City, because a new corrupt force rises, and the streets need their heroes. Enter Axel Stone, Blaze Fielding, Cherry Hunter, and Floyd Iriah? Together they'll face a new breed of enemies, fueled by familiar villains, along with fresh new threats. and restore justice to the streets once and for all. Streets of Rage 4 brings back everything you love about the series, but polished and modernized for today's standards. The core of the game is fast-paced, brutal brawler action. The classic combos, special moves, and fighting techniques are all present, and the game introduces a few new mechanics to keep things fresh. The battles are smooth, fluid, and satisfying. The game offers a variety of playstyles to suit different preferences. And just like in the good old days, you can team up with friends in local and now online co-op to take on the streets together. Whether you're pulling off sick combos or tag teaming bosses, it's the ultimate nostalgic experience for fans who want to relive the action with a buddy. Released in April 2020, Streets of Rage 4 was a highly anticipated return for one of the most beloved beat-em-up franchises, and it didn't disappoint. The game received critical acclaim for its nostalgic charm, modern mechanics, and stunning visuals. High praise was given for the smooth combat, the variety of characters, and the co-op multiplayer, which brought the feeling of the old-school games to a new generation. The game was a breath of fresh air during a time when many fans were yearning for the return of classic arcade action, and new characters added depth to the story and gameplay. However, some players felt the game's difficulty could be punishing at times, especially in the higher levels, but overall, it was a welcome return to form and a solid addition to the beat-em-up genre. Mayhem Brawler 2021. Mayhem Brawler throws you into the heart of a corrupt city where violence and mayhem run rampant. This isn't just another city, this is the city where heroes and criminals collide on a regular basis, and the streets have seen everything. The plot follows three heroes, Trouble, Star, and Dolphin, part of Stronghold, a super-powered law enforcement agency tasked with cleaning up the streets. When the city's criminal underworld gets too bold, it's time for our trio to unleash some hard-hitting justice. But things get a little more complicated as they uncover a darker conspiracy that's behind the escalating chaos. The deeper they dig, the more they realize they're up against forces far more powerful than they initially thought. The story draws on noir and retro brawler aesthetics, with a healthy dose of dark humor and a heavy emphasis on street-level heroism. It's up to the squad to smash their way through increasingly dangerous foes to bring justice back to the streets, whether the city is ready or not. This game is a fast-paced, brutal brawler that'll keep you on your toes as you fight through levels filled with thugs, mutants, and dangerous bosses. The brawling is all about mixing up your combos and finishing moves, with a slam here, a counter there, and an array of powerful area of effect attacks. Each character has a special energy bar, allowing them to unleash devastating power moves. These attacks are perfect for wiping out waves of enemies when the heat is on. Various status effects, branching story paths, and local-based co-op all add to the chaos. Released in August 2021, Mayhem Brawler came to us as a breath of fresh air for fans of classic beat-em-ups. The game's comic book aesthetic, alongside solid beat-em-up mechanics, made it a standout title. Fans of games like Streets of Rage 4 and Final Fight found themselves loving Mayhem Brawler, and the game's short levels and tight action make it easy to pick up and enjoy in short bursts. Perfect for when you need a quick, action-packed fix.
No point, eh? Let's get to the clobbering pot then.
8 Dragons 2021. Downtown is under siege by the brutal crime lord Kane, who has his grip on every major sector of the city. In response, 8 vigilantes, each with a score to settle, band together to take him down. Their goal, restore justice the only way they know how, with fists, feet, and fury. From the streets to skyscrapers, the 8 Dragons will fight through waves of goons and gang leaders to reach the top of the criminal food chain. 8 Dragons is a fast-paced side-scrolling beat-em-up with a unique retro-modern style. It supports up to 8 players in local co-op, making it one of the most ambitious co-op brawlers in terms of party size. The game features a branching level structure, allowing players to take different paths through the story depending on choices and performance. Stages are packed with enemies, destructible elements and pickups, all wrapped up in a colourful pixelated visual style that pays homage to the arcade classics. 8 Dragons received a modest but warm reception, especially from retro gaming fans and couch co-op enthusiasts. Enough to warrant a sequel coming sometime in the future. Its massive player support, character variety, and arcade-style simplicity were praised, though some found the visuals and combat a bit too basic compared to flashier modern titles. Asterix and Obelix, Slap Them All 2021. Set in the vibrant world of the classic French comic series, Slap Them All follows Asterix and his best friend Obelix as they defend their indomitable Gaulish village from the ever-encroaching Roman Empire. The duo punches and tosses their way through a variety of comedic scenarios, from invading Roman camps and brawling with pirates, to travelling abroad for misadventures in Egypt and beyond. This side-scrolling beat-em-up is a throwback in both style and design. You can play solo or in local co-op, choosing either Asterix or Obelix, each with their own fighting style. Attacks are simple but snappy, with combos, throws, jump attacks, and special moves powered by collectible vials. The game was praised for its faithfulness to the source material and visual charm. Critics and fans enjoyed the light-hearted tone and visual presentation, but noted that the gameplay loop lacked variety over time. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, Complete Edition, 2021. If you've ever wondered what it would be like to face off against your crush's evil exes in an arcade-style beat-em-up, then Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, is the perfect cosmic simulation of that twisted reality. Based on Brian Lee O'Malley's comic series and the hit movie adaptation, the game follows Scott Pilgrim, an underdog slacker, as he embarks on a chaotic quest to win the heart of the mysterious and awesome Ramona Flowers. The twist? To date Ramona, Scott must defeat her 7 evil exes, who are ready to throw down in a street fight to keep her for themselves, fight through waves of bizarre enemies and diabolical exes to gain experience and become a better fighter. As Scott, Ramona, or one of their friends, you'll use a combination of punches, kicks, and unique special moves and supers to tear through enemies. Up to 4 players can jump in on the X-pounding action at once. The game has a nice blend of RPG-style mechanics, where your character can level up and buy upgrades at shops. You can also unlock new abilities as you progress, which adds to the sense of character growth. It's this RPG layer that helps give the game a little more depth beyond the action-heavy combat. The game originally dropped in 2010, alongside the movie, and received pretty decent reviews for its nostalgic gameplay, stylized graphics, and rock-solid mechanics. However, it was delisted in 2014, leaving fans with only the memories, and online communities speculating about its return. Fast forward to 2021, and Ubisoft decided to bring it back with the Complete Edition, including all of the downloadable content and new enhancements. Itadaki Smash 2021. Itadaki Smash is one of those quirky hidden titles that will take you by surprise, a fighting game that blends arcade-style brawler action with a strange sense of humor. Our story is centered around Katsu, owner of the best restaurant in town, but the Tengogo Mafia, determined to bring his business down, place a curse upon all the food in his restaurant, transforming the dishes into terrible demons. Only our 4 heroes, with their newfound powers, guided by Katsu's grandmother, can stop them. It's an over-the-top food fight that'll leave you wondering, what is this game? Itadaki Smash features traditional fighting mechanics at its core. The core gameplay is all about punching, kicking, and smashing your opponents into oblivion, but the characters have unique movesets, and the fun comes from the wacky interactions and special attacks that reflect their food-based origins. Released in 2021, Itadaki Smash didn't make a huge splash in the mainstream, but it quickly gained a cult following thanks to its unique theme and unexpected charms. Some players felt that the combat could be deeper, but it's a light-hearted romp that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not a revolution of the genre by any means, but Itadaki Smash is fun in small doses. Last Beat Enhanced 2021. Last Beat Enhanced is a wild ride that throws you straight into the heart of gritty, chaotic urban streets. The story revolves around a group of vigilante fighters who are determined to clean up said streets. They come from all walks of life, but they share one thing in common. They're all fed up with the crime that's tearing their city apart. The game doesn't waste time on complex plot or moral dilemmas. Instead, it's a straightforward beat-em-up where the focus is on action, fun, and brutal battles. The heroes aren't looking for redemption or glory. They just want to punch bad guys in the face and take down anyone who stands in their way. The action is relentless, with enemies coming at you from every angle, forcing you to be quick on your feet and constantly on the move. Released in 2021, the game was praised for its tight controls and wild combat and high-energy action. While the story itself might be simple, the core gameplay kept players hooked with a mix of arcade-style brawler action and modern polish. It's the kind of game that encourages you to pick it up and dive into a fast-paced brawl, and players responded well to the straightforward fun it provided. Okinawa Rush 2021. In a land where ancient martial arts clash with supernatural evil, the Black Mantis clan brings death and destruction to Okinawa. After a brutal attack on his family, master martial artist Hiro Yashima sets out for vengeance. Whether playing as Hiro, his wife Mei-Lin, or his brother Shin, the journey becomes a bloody, high-flying war against dark forces and mystical warriors, with the fate of Okinawa hanging in the balance. Okinawa Rush is a precision-focused, high-speed beat-em-up that blends arcade action with a sprinkle of platforming and light RPG elements. The combat system is deep and responsive, encouraging parries, counters, and combo strings pulled straight from the pages of classic kung fu cinema. Each character brings their own martial art flair and special techniques, and the game supports local 2-player co-op. Players can find hidden secrets and chain devastating combos across richly detailed pixel art environments. Beyond the main campaign, there's a dojo training mode, a survival mode, and even parry-based minigames to sharpen your reflexes. Praised for its silky smooth animations, challenging gameplay, and authentic martial arts atmosphere, Okinawa Rush earned high marks from fans of both retro and modern action games. Some found the difficulty steep, but others embraced its unforgiving design as part of its old-school charm. Midnight Fight Express 2022. In Midnight Fight Express, you play as Babyface, a former criminal drawn back into the chaos of the underworld by a mysterious AI drone. As the city spirals into anarchy overnight, Babyface must fight through endless hordes of thugs, gangs, and crime lords to uncover the truth behind a massive conspiracy. The story unfolds over 40 tightly packed levels and a pulpy noir tone. The gameplay is a brutal ballet of fists, feet, and improvised weapons. Players string together rapid attacks, parries, environmental takedowns, and stylish combos, with a free-flowing combat system inspired by beat-em-ups and action games like Batman Arkham and Hotline Miami. Movement is fast and responsive, with dodge rolls, counters, grapples, and weapon pickups, turning each room into a dynamic playground. As players progress, they unlock new skills, brutal finishers, and customization options for both Babyface's fighting style and appearance. Though primarily a solo experience, the game offers leaderboards and a wave-based challenge mode to extend the action. Upon release, Midnight Fight Express received strong praise for its fluid combat, kinetic animation, and relentless pacing. Critics admired its one-man army fantasy, stylish violence, and the sheer variety packed into its levels. Some minor criticisms were directed at occasional difficulty spikes and a few repetitive enemy types, but overall, it was celebrated as one of the most energetic indie beat-em-ups of recent years. Final Vendetta 2022. London is under siege. The notorious Syndicate gang is terrorizing the streets and has kidnapped Claire Sparks' sister. Joined by her friends, martial artist Duke Sancho and pro wrestler Miller T. Williams, Claire takes the fight straight to the heart of the criminal underworld. Final Vendetta is a gritty homage to the golden age of arcade beat-em-ups, filled with street-fighting mayhem, tough-as-nails bosses, and a thumping UK dance soundtrack to keep your adrenaline pumping. Final Vendetta sticks close to its retro roots, delivering fast, precise combat and tight, responsive controls. Each of the free playable characters brings a different fighting style to the table. Claire with swift strikes and acrobatics, Duke with balanced martial arts, and Miller with bone-crunching grapples and brute force. The game favors skill and timing over button mashing. Combos, blocks, counters, and jump attacks must be used wisely, as enemies quickly ramp up in difficulty. Modes include arcade, survival, and boss rush, with co-op play available for 2 players locally. Every punch feels impactful, and every stage is designed with the kind of arcade precision that dares you to get good. Critics and fans praise Final Vendetta for its sharp pixel art, smooth animations, and challenging gameplay that avoids modern handholding. Some found the lack of online co-op and the steep difficulty curve a drawback, but retro purists welcomed it as a true successor to the likes of Final Fight and Streets of Rage. Ganryu 2 Hakuma Kujiro 2022. Set in a stylized mythic version of feudal Japan, Ganryu 2 picks up after the death of Kojiro Sasaki at the hands of the legendary swordsman Miyamoto Musashi. However, Kojiro's spirit is resurrected through dark sorcery, and Musashi must once again take up his blade to prevent Kojiro from unleashing chaos across Japan. This is a side-scrolling hack-and-slash beat-em-up with platforming elements. Musashi can perform swift sword combos, dash slashes, and magic-based special moves. The gameplay emphasizes speed, precision, and memorization of enemy patterns. There's also a strong retro flair in its level design. Think fast-paced action with verticality and trap-laden environments. The game received mixed reviews. It was praised for its beautiful pixel art and faithful homage to arcade classics, but some critics cited frustrating level design, inconsistent difficulty spikes, and lack of polish in hit detection or controls. Still, I'm sure many fans of retro action games would appreciate the challenge. Jitsu Squad 2022. The ancient Kusanagi Stone, a powerful artifact capable of granting godlike strength, has been uncovered, and evil forces are ready to unleash its power on the world. Bursting with anime flair and Saturday morning cartoon energy, Jitsu Squad throws players into a dimension-hopping quest full of explosive combat, over-the-top enemies, and shoutouts to fighting game legends. Jitsu Squad is a frantic brawler that blends classic beat-em-up gameplay with the wild pacing of a versus fighting game. Players can choose from 4 unique characters: Hero, Baby, Jazz, and Aros, each with distinct weapons, playstyles, and flashy super moves. Combos are fast and furious, featuring air juggles, dash cancels, parries, and screen-shaking specials that feel like a love letter to Marvel vs. Capcom and Guilty Gear. Jitsu Squad was well received for its energetic visuals, polished animations, and fast-paced combat. Reviewers loved the fighting game influences and stylish presentation, though some found the chaos a bit overwhelming in 4-player mode. The game's indie charm and sheer enthusiasm for the genre made it a standout for fans of arcade-style action. Cobra Kai 2 Dojo's Rising 2022. Set during the lead up to the All Valley Karate Tournament, players choose a dojo, Cobra Kai, Miyagi-Do, or Eagle Fang, and recruit members across the valley to build the ultimate team. The goal: become Grand Champion and shape the future of karate in the valley. This is a more open-ended beat-em-up with light RPG elements and branching paths, where you select and lead one of 3 dojos, each with unique fighting styles and characters. You can recruit and train up to 40 fighters across the campaign. There are 1v1 tournament matches, in addition to some side-scrolling brawling. The game received mixed reviews, however, with improvements in scope and ambition noted, but some criticism aimed at the polish and mechanics. Still, this might be a fun time for fans of the show. Young Souls 2022. Young Souls follows orphan twins Jen and Tristan, who live with a kind-hearted professor in a quiet town, until he's suddenly kidnapped by creatures from a hidden underground world. The twins descend into a portal to rescue him, battling goblins and uncovering a war brewing between dimensions. What starts as a personal mission turns into a fight to save humanity from an impending invasion. This beat-em-up blends fast-paced brawling with RPG progression and dungeon crawling. Players can switch between Jen and Tristan in solo play or team up in local co-op. The game offers deep customization with stat upgrades, elemental gear, and weapons that influence both speed and strategy. Outside combat, the twins explore their hometown to train, shop, and improve their loadouts. Combat features dodging, parrying, and juggling enemies with light and heavy attacks. The game was praised for its slick art style, charming dialogue, and strong fusion of genres. Young Souls earned itself a reputation as a hidden gem. Some noted its combat could get repetitive late game, but its heartfelt story and visual presentation stood out in the modern beat-em-up scene. River City Girls 2 2022. The baddest girls in River City are back, and this time they've brought reinforcements. Picking up shortly after the first game, River City 2 sees Misako and Kyoko once again taking to the streets when an old threat resurfaces to throw the city into chaos. With the help of their boyfriends Kunio and Riki, they'll punch, kick, and sass their way through gangs, yakuza, and the sinister Samurai crime syndicate. River City Girls 2 builds on the vibrant combo-heavy action of its predecessor with 6 playable characters, each with unique movesets and special abilities. The world is larger and more open, featuring seamless map transitions and fast travel. Combat is fluid and stylish, with aerial juggles, counters, grapples, and supers all returning, alongside new mechanics like parrying and status effects. You can also recruit defeated enemies to fight alongside you, and every character can level up, gain new moves, and buy gear from shops. The entire game is playable solo or in 2-player local and online co-op, and the story is packed with voice acting, hilarious cutscenes, and fourth-wall breaking humor. Praised for its expanded roster, quality of life upgrades, and charming presentation, River City Girls 2 was seen as a strong sequel. The game's deep combat system, bold art direction, and energetic soundtrack were standout highlights. Shifu, 2022. A young martial artist sets out on a path of vengeance after a brutal gang murders their father. Armed with only their fists, skills, and a mysterious talisman that resurrects them upon death, at the cost of aging, the protagonist hunts down each killer across 5 intense stages, confronting their past and the philosophy of revenge. Shifu is a 3D beat-em-up with roguelike progression and a heavy emphasis on precise combat, positioning, and mastery. The game features real-time hand-to-hand kung fu combat inspired by Bok Mei style, a unique aging mechanic, where each death revives you older, wiser, and more powerful, until old age brings fragility and a permanent game over. You have to parry, dodge, and counter, and use environmental takedowns to progress. There's skill tree progression with unlockable moves and permanent upgrades, and the 5 main stages each have alternate paths and hidden secrets. The game was widely praised for its fluid combat, challenging gameplay, and mature storytelling. Critics and fans appreciated its dedication to martial arts authenticity, and its bold twist on the beat-em-up formula. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, 2022. When Shredder returns alongside Krang, Bebop, and Rocksteady, it's time for Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael to leap into action once again. Joined by Master Splinter, April O'Neil, and even Casey Jones, the crew must battle across classic and new locations from Channel 6 to Dimension X in a fight to stop Shredder's revenge once and for all. Shredder's Revenge is a modern reimagining of the classic TMNT beat-em-ups like Turtles in Time, packed with smooth animation, fast-paced action, and an unmistakable Saturday morning cartoon vibe. Each of the 7 playable characters has a distinct moveset, stats, and super attacks, balanced between speed, range, and power. Combat is accessible but deep, with air juggles, dodges, team-up moves, taunts that charge your special meter, and a combo system that encourages skillful play. Levels are short, stylish, and packed with enemies, cameos, and secrets. The game supports up to 6-player co-op, both locally and online, making it one of the most chaotic and fun group brawlers in recent memory. Shredder's Revenge received critical acclaim for its faithful recreation of the classic TMNT aesthetic, fluid combat, and nostalgic charm. It was praised for its stunning pixel art, fantastic soundtrack, and smooth co-op functionality. While some critics wished for more level variety or difficulty scaling, the game was hailed as a benchmark in retro modern beat-em-ups. Fading Afternoon, 2023. You are Seiji Maruyama, once feared as Gozuki, a Yakuza enforcer with a violent past. After years behind bars, Maruyama walks free into a world that's moved on without him, but old habits and old scores linger. In Fading Afternoon, you navigate the twilight of a man shaped by violence, caught between reflection and relapse. The game's somber tone captures the fleeting nature of time, brotherhood, and purpose, with a meditative, melancholic edge rarely seen in the genre. Fading Afternoon blends beat-em-up combat with sandbox storytelling. The structure is open-ended, letting players wander through bars, streets, riversides, and nightclubs, sometimes picking fights, sometimes just sitting on a bench to smoke. Combat is grounded and deliberate, echoing classic Kunio-kun brawlers, but reimagined through a gritty cinematic lens. You'll use punches, kicks, throws, and improvise weapons in brutal, realistic fights. The action has weight, rhythm, and consequence. Maruyama isn't a superhuman, and fights can turn fast. Time progresses, relationships change, and actions ripple across days. Between skirmishes and moments of quiet, the game lets you feel the life of a man nearing his end, unsure if peace is even possible. Critics and fans praised Fading Afternoon for its unique atmosphere and storytelling approach. While the slow pace and existential tone may not appeal to all players, it struck a chord with those looking for something deeper than typical genre fare. Its pixel art style, realistic brawling, and haunting soundtrack gave it a raw, cinematic feel that stood apart from more arcade-style entries. Asterix and Obelix Slap Them All 2, 2023. In the sequel, Asterix and Obelix return in an all-new slap-happy adventure. When a mysterious theft tarnishes the reputation of a local hero, the Gauls travel across Roman territory and faraway lands to uncover the truth. Expect more pirates, more Roman punching bags, and even more chaotic brawls across beautifully illustrated locations. Building on the first game, Slap Them All 2 introduces improved controls, more fluid combat, and an expanded moveset for both characters. New enemies and stage variety adds more spice to the formula, while local co-op remains a core feature. The sequel is still 2D and hand-drawn, but animations are even smoother and more dynamic, enhancing the impact of every punch and throw. Considered a noticeable improvement over the first game, the sequel was better received thanks to tighter gameplay and more varied combat. Fans of the series especially appreciated the continued visual faithfulness and comedic storytelling. Treachery in Beatdown City Ultra Remix 2023. When the president is kidnapped by ninjas, yep, ninjas, a ragtag trio of street fighters takes to the streets of Beatdown City to rescue him. But what begins as a classic action plot quickly spirals into a scathing satire of modern society. From corrupt cops to corporate shills, racist gym bros to tech bro gentrifiers, no institution is safe, as Lisa, Bruce and Brad punch their way through a city plagued by injustice, absurdity and bad vibes. Treachery in Beatdown City Ultra Remix combines tactical RPG elements with classic beat-em-up combat. Players explore the city grid style, and when encounters occur, they transition into strategic battles, where real-time movement meets menu-driven combos. You pause the action to queue up a series of attacks, light strikes, heavy punches, grapples, throws, or counters based on available fight points, or FP. Then unleash them in creative chains. The Ultra Remix Edition adds rebalanced combat, new enemies, new moves, tweaked visuals, and smoother pacing to address feedback from the original release. It also adds more polish to the UI and combat flow, making the strategic gameplay snappier and more engaging. Something a little bit different from your traditional brawler. The Ultra Remix was praised for refining the original's clever concept into a more accessible and polished experience, the satire remaining biting, with dialogue that skewers politics, police, social media culture, and more. While the hybrid combat still isn't for everyone, it found strong support among players who enjoyed experimental mechanics and bold, topical storytelling. G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra 2023. Cobra's back, and this time they're unleashing full-scale chaos across the globe. In Wrath of Cobra, the G.I. Joe team must rally to stop Cobra Commander's latest world domination scheme, battling through deserts, city streets, and secret enemy installations. Featuring iconic characters, retro visuals, and over-the-top action, this modern beat-em-up pays tribute to the animated series and toy line that defined a generation. G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra blends side-scrolling brawler action with fast-paced, arcade-style flair. You'll choose from a roster of classic Joes like Duke, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and Roadblock, each with their own unique fighting style and special moves. Players can unleash devastating super moves and call in support strikes for extra firepower. The game supports both solo play and local online co-op. Each stage evokes a different Cobra operation with vehicle chases, sci-fi boss battles, and destructible environments that keep the action dynamic and varied. The game received a mixed response from fans of the franchise and beat-em-up enthusiasts. It was praised for its faithful homage to the G.I. Joe universe and vibrant pixel art style. Some reviews noted minor balancing issues and had hoped for more playable characters, and others felt that the combat could become repetitive too quickly. It may really be the nostalgia that carries this game, and one that becomes more enjoyable with a group of old friends. Skinny and Franco, Fists of Violence 2023. A direct sequel to the cult classic Franco, The Crazy Revenge from the early 90s, Skinny and Franco, Fists of Violence picks up decades later. After years away, Franco returns to his crime-infested hometown, only to find things have gone from bad to worse. With his old pal Skinny, the duo punches their way through corrupt cops, street punks, and other absurd lowlifes in a violent quest to clean up the city, or at least get revenge. Skinny and Franco is a side-scrolling beat-em-up that leans into its gritty roots and over-the-top style. Players can fight solo or in local co-op, using a mix of brutal melee attacks, combos, and environmental weapons, like baseball bats, chainsaws, and even toilets. The game is unapologetically violent and laced with dark humor and vulgarity, which are part of its punk-inspired charm. The combat is deliberately raw, channeling the feel of old-school brawlers with a modern edge. Critics were mixed. Some enjoyed its throwback vibe and absurdity, while others found its edgy tone and rough edges polarizing. The game earned a cult following for its brutal combat, nostalgic callbacks, and outrageous sense of humor. River City Rival Showdown 2023. A re-release of the Arc System Works River City Ransom remake on the Nintendo DS from 2016, sporting updated sprites and 3D backgrounds. The game channels classic 90s side-scrolling brawlers, complete with responsive controls and weighty strikes. while a parry mechanic adds some depth to the moment-to-moment combat. The pixel art aesthetic is sharp and vibrant, with exaggerated hit effects and stylized animations, lending the fights plenty of energy. 2-player local co-op is included, making it a perfect couch co-op throwback with a modern coat of paint. While it flew under the radar, genre fans appreciated the solid mechanics, smooth pacing, and reverence for retro classics. Bud Spencer and Terence Hill, Slaps and Beans 2, 2023. Picking up right after the first game, Slaps and Beans 2 finds Bud and Terence in a new series of globe-trotting misadventures. From tropical islands to frozen landscapes and back-alley brawls. Once again, they're fighting crime, rescuing innocents, and cracking wise with every punch. It's an even bigger, funnier tribute to the beloved film duo. This time with tighter writing, better pacing, and more nods to their cinematic legacy. The sequel improves on every aspect of the original, the brawling is smoother and more responsive, with enemy types and environmental interactions. Bud and Terence retain their distinct fighting styles, but each has gained new moves and finishers to keep things fresh. Minigames return, ranging from chase sequences to slap-powered rhythm challenges, and the campaign is once again fully playable in couch co-op. Dialogues are voiced, stages are more dynamic, and the overall flow feels much more polished than its predecessor. Fans and critics considered Slaps and Beans 2 a step up, applauding its refined combat, larger variety of locations, and deeper co-op experience. While still a niche title, it earned high praise for its charm, authenticity, and respect for the source material. Double Dragon Gaiden: Rise of the Dragon, 2023. New York is in chaos once more. Gangs have carved up the city, leaving ordinary citizens in fear. In Double Dragon Gaiden: Rise of the Dragon, a young Billy and Jimmy Lee step up, alongside new and returning allies, to clean up the streets and restore order. Set before the original Double Dragon, this prequel explores the brothers' early days and the rise of the crime syndicates they battle for decades to come. Rise of the Dragon modernizes the classic formula with a roguelike twist. You'll select a duo of characters, Billy, Jimmy, Marion, or newcomer Uncle Martin, and switch between them on the fly to unleash tag team combos and special attacks. Each character has a distinct style, from Marion's gunplay to Uncle Martin's riot shield brawling. Levels are selected in any order, and enemy difficulty scales based on progression. After each mission, you earn money to spend on upgrades or revive fallen allies. But if you fail, you start over with different opportunities, making every run feel fresh. Combat is fast, fluid, and strategic. Enemies drop currency when defeated with flashy KOs, encouraging stylish play. With unlockable characters, randomized perks, and dynamic stage order, Rise of the Dragon blends classic arcade roots with modern design sensibilities. The game was generally well received, praised for its bold art direction, engaging mechanics, and clever reimagining of a legendary series. Critics appreciated the variety of playable characters and the risk-reward system built into its roguelike structure. While some longtime fans wished for a more traditional experience, many saw this as a successful reinvention. Hood Story, Kaito Yamazaki 2024. Set in a gritty, stylized version of Japan's urban underworld, Hood Story Kaito Yamazaki follows the titular protagonist, a young adult from an underprivileged neighborhood of Kamagazaki. As Kaito navigates a city split by violence, betrayal, and shifting loyalties, players are drawn into a story that blends personal redemption with a broader battle against organized corruption. The game blends beat-em-up combat with cinematic storytelling, offering free-form combos, weapon variety, and a parry-heavy fighting system reminiscent of modern action games. Kaito can equip different fighting styles and modify his moveset via an upgrade tree, while environment-based attacks keep brawls dynamic and stylish. The game also features street-level exploration between missions, giving players a chance to interact with NPCs, uncover side stories, and collect lore-rich items that flesh out the city's hidden history. Upon release, Hood Story received positive feedback for its stylish art direction, atmospheric soundtrack, and combat depth. Critics praised its storytelling for being more grounded and character-driven than typical genre entries, while some noted the occasional pacing issue and the short length of the experience. Its fusion of modern beat-em-up mechanics with narrative ambition helped it stand out in the growing field of indie brawlers. Lone Wolf 2024. Set in a post-nuclear wasteland, Lone Wolf follows the titular martial artist who can transform into a werewolf to combat mutated threats. Alongside Brock, a wrestler capable of becoming a berserker Hulk, players navigate a devastated world, battling foes and uncovering secrets to restore balance. Combat features 28 unique weapons tailored to each character's strengths, and players can command customizable AI companions or switch between them mid-fight. Stealth mechanics allow for sneak kills in shadowed areas using an action meter system. The game blends 2D character animations with fully 3D environments supporting local co-op for up to 4 players. In addition to open-world exploration and branching quests, Lone Wolf offers a dedicated fighter mode for competitive or AI battles. With adjustable difficulty, camera angles, and control options, players have the freedom to tailor the post-apocalyptic experience to their liking. Early user reviews are positive. Players praise its nostalgic homage to classic beat-em-ups and the depth added by RPG elements. Maiden Cops 2024. In the neon-soaked city of San Rico, chaos runs rampant. Criminal cartels, corrupt elites, and mutant freaks control the streets. But justice has a new face, or rather several. Enter the Maiden Cops, a fierce all-female squad with zero tolerance for lawlessness and a flair for over-the-top action. Maiden Cops is a fast-paced 2D beat-em-up drenched in anime-style flair and grindhouse attitude. Players take control of a squad of elite heroines, each with distinct movesets, weapons, and special attacks. The game supports solo or 2-player co-op, with stages filled with destructible environments, wild enemy types, and boss fights that explode with colour and chaos. The game includes challenge modes, alternate costumes, unlockable characters, and a synth-heavy soundtrack that drives the pulse of every fight. Still fresh from release, Maiden Cops has earned praise for its explosive presentation, character variety, and unapologetic style. Willy's Wonderland The Game 2024. Based on the cult horror comedy film starring Nicolas Cage, Willy's Wonderland, the game drops players into a twisted amusement center where demonic animatronics rule the night. Taking control of an off-brand Nick Cage silent janitor, or Liv, players must clean house, literally and figuratively, clearing each blood-stained stage while uncovering eerie lore tied to Willy and his sadistic mascots. At its core, this is a relatively simple beat-em-up. Combat leans heavy on performing different punches and kicks to build up your combo chains, and meter management to unleash various special techniques and powerful abilities. Local co-op allows players to team up for coordinated takedowns. Fans of the film might appreciate this one, though some critics have noted that the controls feel heavier than expected. Perhaps worth picking up on sale if you're a fan of the film. Vengeance Hunters 2024. In a dystopian future where mutants, cyborgs, and criminal syndicates reign, a trio of unlikely heroes rises to restore order. Vengeance Hunters follows Golem, Candy, and Looney as they battle through the last woods, the desolate wastelands, and the chaotic streets of Megalopolis. Each character's journey offers unique perspectives, with branching narratives influenced by difficulty settings and character choices. Designed as a homage to 90s era beat-em-ups, Vengeance Hunters combines classic arcade action with modern gameplay depth. The combat system is accessible for newcomers, allowing button mashing fun, while offering intricate combos and signature moves for seasoned players. Vengeance Hunters received positive reviews for its vibrant pixel art, engaging combat, and nostalgic charm. Critics praised its inventive boss battles and deep combat mechanics. However, some noted issues with enemy variety, level length, and the absence of certain features like grab moves. Overall, it's considered a solid entry to the beat-em-up genre. Night Slashers Remake 2024. The undead walk the earth, and they're about to get bodied. In this remake of the cult classic Night Slashers, the world is overrun by supernatural creatures. Vampires, werewolves, zombies, and grotesque monsters born of mad science. The three extraordinary heroes from the original return, alongside the new addition of Lu Fei Lin from Fighter's History. Their mission: cleanse the darkness with fists, lightning, and holy fury. Night Slashers Remake brings the classic horror-themed beat-em-up into the modern era with updated visuals, smoother controls, and new features, while staying true to its arcade roots. Each character has a distinct playstyle, complete with unique combos, crowd control moves, and flashy special attacks that channel elements like fire and lightning. Players pummel hordes of grotesque monsters across graveyards, laboratories, haunted mansions, and infernal realms. There are multiple difficulty settings, extra modes, and even the option to switch between the remake's graphics and a retro-inspired filter. Co-op is available for up to 2 players locally, letting you team up to deliver brutal beatdowns in synchronized horror hero fashion. Fans at least appreciated the return of this underappreciated gem, especially its unique horror aesthetic and cheesy charm. Criticisms were directed at the limited move depth compared to newer genre entries, and some people didn't like the new coat of paint, but its dedication to pulpy monster mashing fun earned it some cult revival buzz. The Karate Kid Street Rumble 2024. Prepare to wax on, wax off, and relive the original Karate Kid trilogy. Street Rumble sees Daniel LaRusso, Johnny Lawrence, and other familiar faces drawn back into conflict as new street gangs threaten peace in the San Fernando Valley. Street Rumble brings the Karate Kid mythos into beat-em-up form, letting players brawl through streets, gyms, and tournaments as iconic fighters from the franchise. Daniel and Johnny are joined by familiar allies and foes, each with their own movesets and fighting styles inspired by the film's signature martial arts choreography. Combat emphasizes fluid strikes, parries, and cinematic special moves, blending traditional side-scrolling brawling with a martial arts flair. Players can chain combos, dodge, counter, and perform powerful team attacks when playing co-op. The game includes both solo and two-player local online multiplayer modes. The game also features dynamic cutscenes and dialogue that echo the melodrama and tension of the original films. Though not without some jank, some might say typical of licensed titles, Street Rumble was welcomed by fans for capturing the heart of the Karate Kid universe. The stylized art, energetic soundtrack, and emphasis on character rivalries were praised, though some noted a lack of polish compared to other modern beat-em-ups. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade Wrath of the Mutants 2024. A home console and PC adaptation of the 2017 arcade game, Wrath of the Mutants is set in the universe of the 2012 Nickelodeon TMNT series. The Turtles face off against the Foot Clan and a host of mutants to thwart Shredder's latest plan to conquer New York City. This side-scrolling beat-em-up supports up to 4-player local co-op. Players can choose from Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael, each with unique abilities. The game features 6 levels, each with 2 boss battles, and includes power-ups and screen-clearing special attacks. The home version expands upon the original arcade release by adding 3 new stages and 6 additional boss fights. The game received mixed to negative reviews. While praised for its faithful adaptation to the 2012 TV series, critics pointed out its simplistic and repetitive gameplay, short length, and lack of online co-op. Power Rangers Rita's Rewind 2024. Evil has rewound time. In this brand new original beat-em-up, a robotic version of Rita Repulsa, Robo Rita, has traveled back through the timeline with a sinister plan to erase the Power Rangers before they ever formed. The classic Mighty Morphin team must fight across a warped history of Angel Grove, battling familiar villains and twisted versions of past events to set the timeline right. Players choose from the core Mighty Morphin team, each with unique movesets, team-based supers, and ranger powers. Combat includes light and heavy attacks, dodging, juggles, and tag team combos. The game fuses side-scrolling brawler action with vehicle stages and time travel mechanics, shifting between arcade-style skyscrapers, classic 90s environments, and futuristic moon bases. And Megazord battles make epic appearances in boss encounters. The game now supports up to 6-player co-op, both online and locally, letting fans squad up as their favourite colour-coded heroes for explosive team play. Though released recently, Rita's Rewind has already generated strong buzz among retro gaming fans and Power Rangers enthusiasts. Critics have praised the crisp visuals, fast-paced action, and nostalgic tone that pays homage to the 90s show while injecting modern polish. The inclusion of multiple gameplay styles and the sheer fan service factor have made it a standout among licensed beat-em-ups. We Could Be Heroes 2025. An unusual episodic beat-em-up, We Could Be Heroes follows a group of misfit vigilantes who rise up in the absence of traditional superheroes. As corruption spreads and mutant crime lords tighten their grip, everyday citizens, equipped with makeshift gear, uncanny powers, and bold ambition, begin carving their own path to justice. At its core, We Could Be Heroes is a side-scrolling beat-em-up with RPG elements and light hero customization. Players choose from a growing roster of vigilantes, each with unique movesets and upgrade paths. Combat is fluid and flashy, allowing for aerial juggles, special finishers, and tag team combos in 2-player local or online co-op. The game's mission-based structure blends linear stages with optional side quests, and branching dialogue occasionally alters your path or upgrades. Upon release, the game was praised for its vibrant art style, diverse cast of playable characters, and modernized beat-em-up mechanics. Some critics noted minor balancing issues between characters, and several glitches and bugs at launch, and although the game has been patched since then, some issues remain. However, the quirky tone, memorable soundtrack, and emotional story beats have helped it stand out in a crowded indie field, one for those who wish to support new indie developers. The Phantom 2025. Based on the legendary comic strip hero created by Lee Falk, the Phantom follows the 21st Phantom as he battles the notorious Shing Brotherhood across 15 diverse global locations. With a new officially approved storyline, players can experience this canon addition through full-screen cutscenes and captivating in-game visuals. This side-scrolling beat-em-up offers classic brawling mechanics fused with completely hand-drawn 2D visuals. Players can choose between the Phantom or his partner, Diana Palmer, each utilizing hand-to-hand combat skills and weapons. The game features 15 levels, local co-op play, and assistance from animal companions like Devil the Wolf and Fracka the Falcon. Reviews are mixed to positive. While the game art's direction and nostalgic homage to classic beat-em-ups have been praised, some critics have noted repetitive combat and a lack of depth in gameplay.
May my sons and their sons follow me.
Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Ultimate 2025. You play as characters from the Phantom Breaker universe, caught in a battle to stop a mysterious antagonist from unleashing interdimensional havoc. With reality warping around them, the cast, each with their own motivations and backstories, punches their way through waves of enemies in Tokyo and beyond, unraveling a multiversal conflict along the way. Ultimate is a full-scale remake of the cult favourite Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds, and retains the fast-paced combo-driven gameplay of the original, but benefits from updated hit detection and balance changes. Each character has unique special attacks, unlockable skills, and customizable stat upgrades. The experience system returns, letting players grind and evolve their fighters across multiple playthroughs. Co-op, local, and online supports up to 4 players, and the game adds new challenge modes, and quality of life enhancements, like improved enemy AI and checkpointing. The game was met with strong enthusiasm from fans of the original and newcomers alike, particularly for how faithfully it captures the spirit of the 2013 classic, while elevating the presentation. Critics praised its flashy visuals, engaging combat, and the satisfying blend of RPG mechanics and beat-em-up action. Before we wrap up, let's give some honourable mentions to a handful of games that didn't quite make the core list, but still deserve a nod. I'll leave it to you in the comments to debate whether any of these should have squeezed their way in. First up is a punchy little lineup of games with incredibly simple controls, titles that blur the line between beat-em-ups and rhythm-based action. You've got One Finger Death Punch from 2013, and its faster, flashier sequel from 2019. Both of these deliver that raw, satisfying thrill of timing your strikes with deadly precision, using just 2 buttons to pull off increasingly ridiculous combos against stick figure enemies. It's minimalist, yes, but also incredibly stylish and addictive. Then there's Kung Fury Street Rage from 2015, a tie-in to the retro-infused short film. It channels 80s arcade energy and absurdity dialed to 11. Think neon Nazis, time travel, and a lot of tongue-in-cheek punch-ups. Similarly, Kawaii Defudes from 2019 wraps its one-button gameplay in a cute but chaotic anime aesthetic, where pop idols double as reapers, smashing through hordes of souls for points. Lastly, let's talk about Battle Axe from 2021. I've seen it pop up on other beat-em-up lists, and while I get the appeal, the pixel art is gorgeous and the action is tight, it plays more like a top-down hack-and-slash in the spirit of Gauntlet than a brawler. That said, it's definitely worth checking out if you're into classic arcade aesthetics with a modern feel to combat. And finally, another nod to Thatcher Productions and Badass Babes, a game that should have made the list, but after seeing a few images of it, I thought I would err on the side of caution, just in case the YouTube overlords are watching. But tell me, what do you think? Do any of these other games deserve to be on the list? Get typing in the comments below. And that's the end of this video. We've journeyed from neon-soaked rooftops to ancient battlefields. We've travelled across decades and dimensions, one beatdown at a time. The legacy of the beat-em-up genre is alive, evolving, and more stylish than ever. These 68+ games don't just celebrate fists and fury, they're a love letter to every arcade memory, every couch co-op battle cry, every last desperate continue. So, just how many of you played? And don't go hanging up your knuckles just yet. The next wave is already rumbling underfoot. Marvel Cosmic Invasion is poised to unleash interstellar chaos. The Toxic Crusaders are set to return with radioactive revenge. Jay and Silent Bob Chronic Blunt Punch promises foul-mouthed fury and fourth wall breaking fun. Mayhem Brawlers 2 looks to deepen the supernatural saga. And Double Dragon Revive, it's ready to bring the dragon spirit roaring back to life. And there's even more on the horizon. The streets are calling again, and the next chapter might just hit harder than ever. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more action-packed videos. Got a favourite beat 'em up that I didn't mention? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So, what are you waiting for? Grab your controller, assemble your crew, and dive into these beat 'em ups. Until next time, keep your fists ready, your mind sharp, and your heart fearless.